Hello YouTube world, Pretend Farmer here. The temperatures are really starting to drop now and we're moving closer into winter. With colder weather coming, we need to talk about how we take care of our chickens and some minor adjustments that you can make to ensure that your chickens stay happy and healthy and comfortable in the colder months ahead. One of the big adjustments I like to make this time of year is I'll start feeding my chickens a little bit of cracked corn. This makes a good snack that they can have before bedtime, because it gives them something that they can kind of digest as they're on the roost, and they generate heat while they're doing that. It helps keep them warm. It's not nighttime, it's morning, but I still like feeding my chickens snacks, so we're going to give them some corn. There you go. I like to pour it out in kind of a line like that rather than just one pile, and that way it kind of gives the chickens a chance to space out a little bit. They don't have to fight over it as much, and they're going to scratch it around anyway, so it's no point in piling it. But this is just kind of my preferred method, and they don't need a whole lot, you know. You don't want this to be a huge part of their diet because they still need to be eating their layer feed too to produce good healthy eggs. We think of water as being a really important thing for summertime because birds get thirsty in the heat. And that's very true. They do need cold, clean, fresh water to drink in the summer. But water is equally important in the wintertime. And even though they won't drink it as fast or drink as much, did you know that an egg is about 75% water? So you need to make sure your water is not going to freeze in the winter. They make heated waterers if you got a way to plug them in. Here on the Pretend Farm, I found that if I just, knock the ice off of them in the morning and fill them up, they're usually good for about the whole day. So I've never really found the need to have a heated waterer. I just empty it out and replenish it more often to keep it from freezing, knock the ice off of it when it does freeze. Chickens can take temperatures well down below zero. That's not a problem for them at all. In fact, I think they probably do better in the cold than they do in the heat. But they gotta have a place to stay dry, and they need to be out of the wind. Let's look at the coop. You know, chickens don't ask for a whole lot. If chickens have a roof over their head and a bar to roost on, they're happy. As long as they can stay dry and stay out of the wind, that's the two key things to keeping chickens comfortable during the winter months. They've got walls around them to block the wind. They've got a roof over their head to keep the rain and the wetness off of them. And notice there is a good deal of ventilation in this coop. Now you might think, okay, well, you'll be blocking that off when it gets into the cold months. No, we will not. Let me explain why. Some chickens have bigger combs than others. And whenever you got chickens with larger combs, whether it be a rooster especially, or maybe just a hen like Miss Molly, who has kind of a big floppy comb, you need to keep an eye on that for frostbite. Make sure their combs can stay dry. If your chicken coop is sealed up tighter than a drum, these chickens are going to produce condensation from their breath while they're up on the roost bars. It's going to turn it almost into a sauna type atmosphere, and they're going to collect moisture on their combs. And then when they go out in the morning, that moisture will freeze if the temperatures are cold enough, and that can contribute to frostbite on those combs. So that's why it's important to have good ventilation. Now when you're dealing with birds like this that have feathered feet, there's some extra precautions you got to take. And this won't apply to all chicken owners, but when you've got feathered feet like these, they can get wet in the wintertime, and then as temperatures drop, they are more susceptible to getting frostbite on their toes. Chickens can lose their toes because they get frostbite. They'll die and fall off, and you don't want that. So a good way to keep that is make sure that they have good dry bedding to get into in their coop. If you got a lot of snow or moisture in the run and it's really cold, put down some straw for them. Might just make all the difference. Now you might be thinking, gosh, wouldn't it be easiest just to put a heat lamp or a bulb in my coop and give them heat in the wintertime? Not necessarily. Chickens acclimate to the cold. As long as it doesn't go from 90 degrees outside to 20 degrees outside overnight, they're going to be fine. Most places have seasons. They gradually get used to the temperatures slowly falling, and you don't need to give them any supplemental heat in the wintertime. A lot of people feel inclined, if it's below 32 degrees, they want to put a heat bulb out in their chicken coop and give them a heated coop. And while that might sound like a good way to spoil your chickens and give them the ultimate level of comfort, you're actually not doing them any favors by doing that. You know, they get used to those colder temperatures, and when you go throwing heat in their coop, they want to hang out in that heat, but then when they do go back outside, they're not used to those colder temperatures. And God forbid the heat bulb or something burn out in your heat lamp, they can all get sick and die because they haven't had time to adjust to that temperature drop. So you're better off just to let the chickens do their work. They will actually puff their feathers up and trap the heat, kind of like a heat blanket, between their body and their feathers. And chickens run pretty hot. They run around 110 degrees anyway. So chickens can really generate some good heat for themselves. And if you're feeding them cracked corn and stuff, it's going to help them to do that even better, which is why we do that here on the pretend farm, isn't it? So no heat lamps, not necessary. Not unless you have chicks anyway. You don't need heat, do you? You're getting quite fat, actually. Getting quite fat. The best reason not to use a heat lamp is because you can catch your chickens on fire. If they knock that thing over, coop goes up in flames, not good. So if you follow all these tips this winter, your chickens will stay warm, and they'll be happy and healthy all winter long, and you'll probably even get some eggs out of the deal. From the Pretend Farm, stay warm, keep on farming, or pretending to, and keep your chickens comfy.